All right, here we are, Preston. I tell you what, you see the title of tonight's post-game video, and it's pretty darn accurate. I don't think there's any way to draw up a way to burst LSU's 2019 National Championship bubble than to start the 2020 season the way that this one did tonight. So, yeah, it's this one is going to be a tough one. It's going to be talked about for a long time. Mississippi State sets records in passing yards in Southeastern Conference in a single game.
623 yards.
I mean, this is after LSU last year did what they did right in the record books. And that's why I'm saying there's no bigger way to come out and bust that bubble and have a reverse of fortune and do a 180 the way they did today. And there's a lot to talk about with Bo Pelini's defense, Derek Stingley, the news we got this morning. But first I want to do is talk about our sponsor for these TigerBait.com post-game live features that we do. We started as a walk to the car last year, and of course we've gone to the sofa. We've got the Ming Dynasty lamp continues to be in the shot. But I want to thank our resident attorney, the official attorney of TigerBait.com, Kenneth P. Haynes of the Weems Law Firm. We're going to talk more about him a little bit later in the broadcast. But he is a fantastic attorney in Shreveport, and we're happy to have him on board with us. One of the premier divorce attorneys in Louisiana. It's not something positive to talk about, but if you happen to have a divorce or need a divorce attorney, you need a good one. And there's nobody better in North Louisiana, and he goes everywhere north of Alexandria. Based in Shreveport, Bossier City, will go to Monroe. And he's even told me he's got clients in Lake Charles, but fantastic attorney. And I'm going to talk more about him a little bit later, but I want to get your thoughts, Preston, on...
Yeah. So it was a rough game. I think at first Miles Brennan just had a lot of jitters. He did not look like a seasoned veteran who had been in there. I mean, there was a certain point where they had just as many sack yards as passing yards in the first quarter there, actually into the second quarter. But I think with the real, I mean, you can nitpick this and there, but my goodness, 60 passing attempts tonight, 623 yards, 5 touchdowns. Now, they had 4 turnovers, but that defense, they got, I mean, Derek Stingley Jr. or not, you've got to find a way to slow them down. They ran for 9 yards. They weren't trying to run the ball. That is as one-dimensional as you can get. Now, I want to hear from y'all. What do y'all think the number one problem was tonight? Because I think you can point to a lot of areas, but certainly that passing defense, Mike, I mean, that's got to be up there, right?
Yeah, and it's – look, I know there's going to be a lot of talk about why didn't LSU abandon man-to-man coverage and go to zone when they continue to get torched all game long. Ed Orgeron talked about in the postgame about how they're going to evaluate that. But it's, you know, at the end of the night, you know, I was talking to another guy in the press box before I made the way here. And I'm like, when you try to single out who the positives are or what were some of the positives, you know, I tweeted about him several times. I thought Ali Gay looked fantastic.
Oh, boy.
And, you know, and look, he was a guy in recruiting that everybody said when LSU was getting tight and all these guys were wanting to go get in LSU's class, you know, might they dump him? And, like, I knew Christian Locketeur loved him. They were raving about him. Yeah. And he is the real deal. And look, we knew he was raw coming in. I think he's going to be special. I think the defensive line might have played pretty decently. But look, you know, you've got a transfer in from Nichols that got abused tonight. Oh. You know, Stingley certainly. Look, if Stingley would have played tonight, might that been the difference? I don't know. It could have been.
I mean, they might have won the game, but that guy's still having a nice night.
Where was LSU's running game? And I wonder if at the end of the day tomorrow, when James Craig grades the offensive line, if I think they might actually grade out pretty darn good.
I don't know. I mean, I think part of the problem was Brennan. After 3 seconds, he was just not good.
No.
He was not a good player after the first 3 seconds.
Look, from my seat in the LSU press box, I was seeing receivers open on every play. He was taking too long to make a decision. You know, a lot of times going to his check down, atrocious on third down. Whereas Mississippi State was like the world's best you've ever seen on third down. Third and long, they converted all the time. You thought you had them and you were going to get your defense off the field, and no, you didn't. And here we go. I see Paul says this is the worst defense I've seen since 1999. You know, was there a
Tepper? Yeah,
but I mean, was there something in 2008 that might rival that?
I don't know. My mind kind of went to 2014.
Florida in 2008.
Yeah, Florida was. I mean, that was ugly. Yeah, probably 2008 somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, I think ultimately the thing is you got to look at for LSU's perspective is you have to give a lot of credit to Mike Leach and Mississippi State. I mean, and KJ Costello. People were asking me who I thought first-team All-SEC quarterback would be. I said KJ Costello. I did. Now, I didn't think he'd be that good, but he's in a system where they're not afraid to throw the ball 60 times a game. I mean, they've got some talent over there. You have to give them credit. So I'm not sure this is a situation where the defense is just abhorrently bad. I mean, I think they have some work, but I think they'll do all right.
Look, guys, please do us a favor. Hit the like and share button. We're very much appreciated. It helps us with the Facebook algorithm. And we still got 104 in here. We want to get to some of your questions. Mark Chambers, Miles' situation awareness was lacking. I agree. And one thing we did see, look, he took some hits today. So we'll give him some credit on that. But those are some hits he didn't need to take.
Yeah.
And obviously he's not as mobile, and he's not a guy that... you know, I want to say you tweeted the same thing I did. There was one early in the game where it was like, you just know when he took off and ran, Joe Burrow would have gotten that first down, and he didn't.
It was a cringy moment, and as you know, I'm sure the LSU team has moved on past Joe Burrow, but as spectators, you can't help but think just how easy Joe Burrow made all that stuff look. And not just Joe Burrow, everybody around him. He had Clyde and all that good stuff. But it was almost like at the beginning of the game, Miles Brennan was trying to be the next Joe Burrow, and he's not. He can't run very well.
And look, all he has to do, in my mind, is if you could get a performance out of Miles Brennan that was equal to Joe Burrow in 2008. I mean, in 2018.
Yeah,
I think that would suffice this team. But at the same time, you need that running game to get going. I think there was a few times, and I need to go back and watch the tape. You know, during the game, I've got so much I have to do, but. I want to go back and chart some of Chris Curry's runs. I know, you know, why were they pitching it to him and getting him outside? He's a north-south guy. I didn't understand that. I thought that they didn't go to the running game soon enough. Arik Gilbert looks his build. He's got a bright future, but he is a true freshman. He wasn't perfect today. Jacoby Stevens was fantastic today. I saw Blaine mention that. He's absolutely right.
Yeah, you got three bright spots on defense, in my opinion. And you can't say too much about the defense today, but, you know, Ali Gay looked incredible. So did Jacoby Stevens and Jabril Cox. How about him with a touchdown? He caught KJ Costello's first touchdown.
Yeah, there's Kenneth. Kenneth Haynes, he's in our chat, our sponsor tonight. Miles Brennan is no threat to run on an RPO, so he's faking the running back. LSU needs to run more power with his quarterback. Absolutely right. That's you know, and of course you start talking that way and people think you're going back to the Les Miles era, but no, that's not the case. You know, it's like, look, there's so many components missing off last year's team, so it's not as simple as saying, okay, these new additions on the coaching staff just aren't going to cut the mustard. You can't do it that way because there's so many missing pieces personnel-wise.
Well, at one point I pointed out with the defense, so only one starter from the national championship was back on the field today, and it was a whole new coordinator. That's a lot, y'all. I mean, I don't care what year.
Yeah, no Tyler Shelvin, that's a loss. Huge. Glenn Logan not being there today, that was a blow. Mm-hmm. Neil Farrell, who opted out and is trying to work himself back into shape, he was out there today. You know, Stingley this morning. Then you're throwing Elias Ricks and boy, I mean, you had some issues out there today. Todd Harris didn't look good coming off of injury. Yeah. I mean, there's a whole lot to go around. Look, as bad as the offense was, the defense was just atrocious.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, the defense is clearly the big problem. But, you know, one thing to point out, I think we can sit here and talk about the defense. Like, yeah, Cordell Flott had a terrible game. Yeah, Darren Evans, the transfer from Nicholls State, he got abused. Even Elias Ricks had his moments where he looked bad, although he did have an interception. But, you ran the ball. Chris Curry had 9 carries, Tyrion Davis-Price 11, John Emery Jr. had 7. You know who was tied for the most carries on the team? Miles Brennan. With 7 sacks today.
Yeah, but they're counting sacks as runs.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So you take those out of the equation, those 7 sacks, and they only ran the ball, what is that, 28, 20, somewhere in the higher 20s there, okay? So there really wasn't much of a running game established, and without milking the clock off, you're putting your defense in a bad position. I mean, if you're going to just pass the ball and go 3 and out, I mean, you're putting your defense right out there. It's like last year when the defense was gassed, except for now you don't have 7 points in addition like you did last year. So some issues with the offense that flow into the defense for sure.
Well, it's I had a little bit of fun on Twitter when I made fun of Oklahoma before LSU kicked off, and that'll be in the hot take category. And I'm waiting for some Sooner fans to have some fun with me on Twitter. Again, want to thank Kenneth Haynes for sponsoring our post-game show, and he's going to sponsor us the whole season. And just want to talk about him and what he does. And, of course, he's at the Weems, Shrimp, and I'm butchering it. Weems, Shrimp, Haynes, Shermwell, and more, full-service Shreveport law firm. And Kenny is the only lawyer in the state practicing outside of New Orleans that is a board certified in appellate practice and family law. He's been board certified since 2004. He's been board certified in appellate practice since the inception of the specialty in 2017. 30 years experience representing individuals with their litigation needs, family, personal injury, commercial litigation. He's a founding member of TigerBait.com and one of our most valuable posters. And whenever we need legal advice, whether it's the NCAA stuff with Will Wade or whatever, he's always the man. He had one of our most popular threads weeks ago when all that stuff came out with the what was it, IPAP or whatever it was called, the committee. Kenny's firm has been successfully cared for people's legal needs since 1983, and he's an LSU law school graduate, class of 1989. Give them a call. Give Kenny a call. 318-222-2100. Kenneth P. Haynes, Shreveport, covers all of North Louisiana. If you need a divorce, personal injury, you name it, he's your guy. Go give him a call, and of course you can see the number on his great sign sitting on the Ming lamp tonight. So
yeah, Paul Batts here saying Pelini's defense hasn't adapted to RPO-centric offenses. Do you think that might be, he could be out of touch? I mean, he hasn't coordinated a defense since the 2007 national championship.
Yeah, but I mean, you got to believe that they've. I mean, look, they were facing those offenses where he was at Youngstown.
Yeah, I mean, as the head coach, I mean, it's not like he wasn't.
Yeah, but they were running his defense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
He wasn't calling the plays in, but
LSU just got personnel problems.
I think they could have made some more adjustments. I'm hearing a lot of people saying they were running way too much man. I tend to agree. Because you don't have the Jimmies and Joes for man.
No, you can put that on him. I agree. I think the defensive line. Look, man, it's just like the whole thing with the 4-3 is your defensive lineman getting pressure on the quarterback and making more tackles than your linebackers. But tonight you still had your linebackers doing the bulk of the work. Well, you don't have Tyler Shelby. You didn't have Glenn Logan. Neil Farrell, like I said, is working his way back. Ali Gay was. I loved watching him, and I can't wait to watch it on the DVR. I think he's going to be absolutely fantastic for LSU.
Player for sure.
But it's one of these deals now where we're at LSU 8-2 preseason, and it's like, man, do you really jump off the ledge and go crazy and say this team might go 5-5? I'm not going to do that. I want to give this team an opportunity to regroup, suffer this embarrassment, and it is embarrassing. Believe me, these guys are probably wanting to go straight home, and this was not a positive experience for them. They're absolutely miserable, and they're going to hear all the talk shows. I was listening to one on the way in, and they're brutal. Message boards are brutal. Twitter's brutal. I saw Caleb Von Chason going back with the
Clemson guy.
Joe Burrow retweeting
Yeah.
Caleb on. I mean, there's going to be some people that are going to regional, national. Everybody's going to have some fun at LSU's expense because this was an excruciating, embarrassing loss for the Tigers.
Well, expect to hear the national narrative of LSU was a one-hit wonder. It was just Joe Brady and Joe Burrow. They're done, so expect that. I'm not there yet. I mean, I'm not ready to write off Bo Pelini yet. I mean, it was one game. Just take a deep breath.
But here's the deal. I think, look, I know a lot of LSU fans. I mean, I'm on the phone all day long. I think there's a lot of LSU fans that went into this season saying it is what it is. It's a COVID year, 10-game SEC schedule only, no Texas. You lost Joe Burrow. You lost all those players in the NFL draft. You had the opt-outs. Let's just get through 2020. Let's see some football and then, regroup. But, there's a lot of people out there that don't want to see what they saw tonight either.
Yeah.
I mean, that is not LSU football. And I think Orgeron, and what did you think of Orgeron's tone in the press conference? Did you think he was about right, or should have been more aggravated, or a little bit more?
I think he was calm, cool, and collected. And you have to be at times like this when you're 0-1. There's a tendency to have panic creep in. And I think that publicly you kind of have to keep a reserved tone, or you'll lose the team.
Well, and this is one of those deals too, where it's been the policy of every coach at LSU. DiNardo very rarely rolled out the coordinators to let you talk to him.
Yeah.
They'd let Chavis come out when they did something great or had a win that the defense made the win happen. But like at Georgia, they give the media access to the coordinators. They get to talk to them early in the week, and I would have liked to. Why can't they put Bo Pelini on Zoom? Orgeron likes to say it's on him and he needs to coach better. But Bo Pelini's been a head coach at Nebraska and Youngstown and was at LSU before. Let him talk to the media and explain some things as well. I don't think Orgeron needs to do all that, but they, most head coaches want to be the one voice of the program. I get it. But I guess maybe I'm being a little selfish and wanting everything. But I'd like to hear Bo Pelini talk after what we saw tonight, but that's not going to happen.
I mean, from our perspective, it would be great to get the scheme issues like Bo. Why didn't you adjust to from man to zone coverage? I'd love to hear his answer on that. I mean, Orgeron didn't come out there and break down the X's and O's with that. So that we're definitely missing.
Well, and that's a question. I was busy. I would like. That's probably a question I'll ask on Monday if I can get in. Your discussion with Bo Pelini. What was the consensus amongst you two? What was his mood and mindset? And I wonder if Orgeron will be blunt about it. And because I think they're probably on the same page. They're both embarrassed. But I think the overriding thing for tonight, if you were going to pin something on Pelini, was not going to zone when those defensive backs were just getting burnt. And I mean, man, Costello just I mean, he looked like Joe Burrow against a team that had a bunch of holes like LSU did.
So let's talk about positives for the defense. 4 turnovers, 1 touchdown. You only gave up 9 yards rushing, although they weren't really trying to run the ball. Those are your positives. The negatives, 623 passing yards, and that's the ball game. I mean, it's a simple fix. It's almost like the system that Mike Leach ran, it took the front 7 out of the equation for most snaps. They just did not. It was all about your DBs. I'm sure the big question mark coming into the game was how good is Miles Brennan? What was your thoughts? How good was he?
I've just said over and over again, I don't know. No idea how he could handle pressure. Found some of that out tonight. No idea how durable he is. Well, I think that question was answered. He took some hits and kept on going. I mean, but a lot of those hits are because of him holding on to the ball too long and making some bad decisions. But again, I think, I want to watch the tape. I bet you I'm going to look at that offensive line. I think they did okay.
I don't know. I think they had some moments. I think they'll grade out at about a C. I mean, 7 sacks It wasn't all just Burrow.
No, but it's because of Burrow. I mean, if you put a stopwatch on Miles Brennan, I mean, dude, he had streaking.
He held on to it.
He had receivers all open all day long.
He missed a lot of open receivers.
I mean, there was one where Eric Gilbert was in the flat with nobody around him for 10 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, it could have been a big game.
He also had a touchdown where he got hit in the arm, and he underthrows it by about 20 yards because he got hit in the arm. Interception. Ugly interception.
Boy, I didn't see his arm get hit, so I didn't
until the replay.
Yeah, that's one of the negatives. And look, in the press box, they weren't showing any replays tonight. There was very few replays in the stadium. I will say there was a point in the second half, and I tweeted it out that kudos to the 21,000 that were there because they got really loud.
It was an actual presence?
I mean, there was a point in the first half where last night I was at Walker High School seeing Brian Thomas, and I'll have that interview on him tomorrow. I was going to post it this morning, but then the Stingley news broke, and I'm like, I'm going to hold that. That'll be on Tiger Bay tomorrow. I talked to 4-star wide receiver Brian Thomas of Walker. But I was at the Walker hosting Catholic scrimmage last night, and I'm telling you, the atmosphere at that game last night was better than most parts of the first half of the LSU game today.
That's saying something.
I mean, yeah.
I know they take it seriously out there. So Miles Brennan, of course, goes 27 for 46, 344 for 45 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So it's not like he didn't do anything when he passed the ball. In fact, I thought when he was actually passing the ball, he was pretty good. It was before the ball got out that was the problem tonight. I mean, he just held on too long, took too many sacks, didn't run very well. Just a lot of problems with that. He needs to throw the ball away some more too.
It's there was some stalled drives, 3 and outs, and that was another key to the game was you couldn't, let that defense stay on the field, and it was compounded by the fact that Logan wasn't there, Stingley wasn't there. You already went into this game with the mindset that you needed to get that LSU defense off the field because that air raid offense does what it does, and so. They didn't get that done. What was the time of possession? I mean, I didn't even see that stat.
Oh, it wasn't pretty. It was, it actually ended up coming up pretty even. Mississippi State 30-28, LSU 29-32.
Okay, well, man, I thought that was going to be lopsided.
I'm sure those turnovers had a lot to do with that.
That's dead even.
Yeah.
But, yeah. And look, I'm looking at the total yards. LSU had 425. I mean, that...
Yeah.
But boy, 623 yards in the air.
So, yeah, that's unbelievable. So, coaching is gonna say no excuses ever, but we don't have to fall by that same standard here. With Derek Stingley Jr. and a Tiger Stadium full at 102,000 and 2 warm-up games before them, basically COVID never hit. Does LSU win this game today?
Man, does UT San Antonio give this team fits?
No.
With the same, if there's no opt-outs and there's no COVID and you got 102,000 people and you got Stingley and Tyler Shelvin, and Jamar Chase.
I agree. I think they find a way to grind it out. And Jamar Chase especially. Ooh, they would have been useful because, there were some drops today. Reed Gilbert on his first target, drop. And even Terrace Marshall there at the very end had a drop that might have given them a chance at an onside kick if he had somehow managed.
I didn't look at player participation. Did Cole Taylor play?
Cole Taylor.
I'll go back and look at that. If someone knows if Cole Taylor got in, I don't think he did. He's the other freshman tight end. What about Torrey Carter? Did you see Torrey at all?
I did see Torrey Carter in there.
If you guys saw that, you chime in and let us know. Curly, Larry, Moe, we have 0 DBs. Look, Elias Ricks has a bright future. You know who I thought about today was Major Burns.
Ooh, that burns.
Of course, I don't know. I didn't get to see what Georgia did today. Did he get to play?
He would have played here.
But it's a deal of depth. You're not having to go to Nichols and get a transfer if you hold on to Major Burns in last year's recruiting class.
Yeah, that's right.
Cindy Mercer, Coach Bo did not impress me at all. Look, he's they're sick. But look, you can't say it's Bo Pelini's fault. It's Bo Pelini's fault. It's Glenn Logan's fault. We're not going to give Derek Stingley any fault. We don't know what his diagnosis is or what caused to him. There's rumors of allergic reaction or a seizure, and I don't know. We'll get the total scoop. Thoughts and prayers are with him, of course, and hopefully he's 100%. And can you imagine him watching that game today?
No, I don't want to imagine.
Yeah, it probably made him. He was
probably sick to his stomach.
That might have made him more sick than what got him in the hospital watching that.
Probably so. Greg Price says, as someone said, Bama would never play like this post-championship. And that's what LSU fans were curious about all offseason is this going to be a thing we're moving forward? Orgeron's got this team ready to compete like champions year in, year out. I'm going to tell you this, Missouri is actually coming in close with them now. They brought it, they're doing a little comeback against Bama right now. But yeah, Bama year in and year out, just plugged, plays, and reloads. I don't think I ever saw a Bama team lose.
Alyssa says Tofu is watching.
That's my corgi, y'all. Yeah.
All right.
He's sick to his
Jonathan Colston, Hale State. Looks like we got a Mississippi State fan having some fun with us tonight.
Hey, that's all good.
That's okay. LSU had fun last year, and like I said, there's not a bit. I don't know how you could come down to earth after last year than a worse performance than tonight.
I'm trying to think if this might be Mississippi State's biggest win in their history.
Shannon Williams, Colada, no excuses. Bama wouldn't make excuses.
Yep. I think there's some excuses for Orgeron because COVID and because of just he's lost way more than Saban ever lost. But you're right. The goal is to be a program that competes year in and year out.
Faye Schubert, of course. Faye's always one of our best posters, and she's active on Twitter. Huge LSU fan. We had an NFL caliber team in 2019. Well, there's no doubt when you watch what happened at the NFL draft and in the free agent signings. And then you've got a couple of kids that have opted out. Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
Look, you can make arguments going into the season and then have the debate between the two of them that Jamar Chase and Derek Stingley are the best two players in the country.
When I wrote my original...
And you had neither one of them today.
When I wrote my original prediction, I wrote it assuming they were in there saying a lot of people are writing LSU off, but it's kind of odd to see a team that might have the best and second best player in the country be so written off. Well, neither one of them played today.
Yeah.
And you can't, that just hurts so much.
Yeah, Chance Babin, do you think this helps or hurts recruiting? I don't think it hurts anything. I think this 21 class is locked in place.
Yeah.
Like I've been saying, when you fill in the last 7 spots, I can give you 5 right now. Corey Foreman back in town this weekend. And 2022 is where you don't want it to hurt. It's the number 1 class right now for a class of 2022. Great year in Louisiana for 22. And this is a crazy year as far as being able to evaluate. You didn't have summer camps. So I would worry about maybe 22. But look, like I said, this is a crazy COVID year. There's going to be a whole lot of mulligans and asterisks that we're going to give on these things when it's all said and done. And the last thing we want to do is, and of course it'd be a good thing if in December we're looking back and like, boy, do you remember back, September 26th about what that was like and what we were thinking the season would look and look how they turned it around. And look, there's a lot of great coaches in that building. There's a lot of great talent. They just got to get it together and get some young guys in shape, and hopefully Derek Stingley's going to be 100% and no issues. You got to believe they're giving him every known test medically to man to make sure he's 100% before he ever gets back on a field. They're going to make double check and triple check that he's 100%. Hopefully, we just, maybe it's something as simple as he now has learned that he's got a peanut allergy or something.
You know what would have hurt in recruiting, I think, is if they gone out there and ran 45 toss dives and passed the ball 10 times. And not necessarily with even the 2022 guys. I'm thinking about all these 2023 quarterbacks. We got 3 of them in the state of Louisiana. I'm counting that LSU are certainly good enough to play for LSU. Maybe those guys it hurts you a lot with if the offense changed. But I liked the offensive play calling, guys. I thought that it actually took advantage of Brennan's strengths. Brennan just didn't execute at a lot of times. I think that they called a lot of underneath routes. a lot of these quick dink and dunk passes, they weren't trying to run him like Joe Burrow, and I just don't think it turned out in LSU's favor.
Chance Babin, Brennan needs to be more decisive and anticipate receivers breaking open. 100%.
Absolutely.
Curly Larry Moe O-line was terrible. I tend to want to give them the benefit of the doubt, but I'm going to watch the tape, and I'll let you know, Curly Larry Moe, if I agree with you. I might come back here and say, no, I was wrong. The offensive line was bad. But I think some of the issues today was Miles Brennan holding on to the ball way too long. And like the previous, like Chance said, he's got to anticipate it. That was what Burrow did so well last year. You got to throw to spots. You got to anticipate. You got to know where those routes and where your receiver is going to be. And that can be another situation that because you had no spring football, that's probably a big part of it.
Wayne Clark.
How much did Miles Brennan and Jamar Chase work together, and all of a sudden Jamar's not there for it?
Yanked them. Yeah, this team gets more excuses, and you hate excuses, but they do get more passes than a normal team would.
Yeah, good news is 9-1 goes to playoff. All right, I want what you're drinking, but
yeah, I don't see 9-1 for this
But
team.
Wayne Clark, if I wish I could hit a little button here to bookmark you, but if come back in December and have some fun with us if you're correct. And I hope you're correct.
I hope you get to make us look stupid, because I think at best at this point I think we're looking at it like a 7-3-ish.
Our sponsor, our resident Tiger Bait, the official attorney of TigerBait.com, Kenneth Haynes. Bad news is LSU has no chance at going 9-1.
Yeah. I think 7-3 around there is still possible.
And that's what you want in an attorney. You need an attorney with a quick wit. Let's see. Especially in divorce court.
Sean Guidry says wide receivers need to catch the ball, and he's not wrong. I mean, the wide receivers, they made some plays tonight, but ultimately, yeah, I counted multiple passes where not only were there, but two hands on the ball. Doink. You got to catch the ball, especially in a struggling offense and a struggling offensive line like that. You got to catch your balls.
Hey, again, y'all do me a favor. Please share this video on your Facebook timeline. It's much appreciated. If you like the content, hit the like button. Very much, I always want to say we appreciate y'all tuning in to us here on TigerBait.com. And, of course, please go to Tiger Bait and subscribe. We want you as a premium subscriber. $1 gets you on the site as a premium subscriber for a week. If you don't like it after a week, we have a phone number you can call. And I've got a sweet lady that will answer the phone, and she'll get you locked away so you don't get billed any further. So you get to try us for $1. Please do that. We want to have you as a premium subscriber at TigerBait.com. I've got some big recruiting stuff coming for you guys. I always say it, nobody does recruiting prospect video better than we do. Nobody's been out more than I have already. And I think next week, between the multiple games on Thursdays and Friday nights, we might see as many as 5 different prospects. And we're going to have all that in HD. Their videos, interviews, photos, the works. So you want to subscribe to Tiger Bait, especially if you're a big fan of LSU football recruiting. And after what we saw today, it's time to reload, and recruiting is going to be big. So
need it.
If there was ever a year, I don't want to say this. My mindset, and I know there's a lot of LSU fans. You come out of what happened last year, and you're like, you will never see that again in your life. You saw there's no team in your lifetime that will be as good as that 2019 LSU football team. Every award won, Coach of the Year, Heisman Trophy, draft picks, ESPN, SEC Network all day long. COVID hits, all your games are being replayed every day nationally. It just doesn't get any better than what we just saw. So a lot of people went into this year saying, man, if they have a couple of bad seasons, I'm okay with it after what we just had. But that's not what you want to happen. So, but with COVID and not knowing how this is going to play out, is there going to be some games that have to get delayed? How's this thing going to end up? Knock on wood. We're done with COVID. I think LSU, by the way, did a great job getting everybody in the stadium, temperature checked on the app. You had to do the CDC thing after midnight. I don't know how medically sound that is. I did it. That's because that's what they wanted. But one bad thing about this is the food in the press box isn't as good as usual.
I saw that.
Yeah, so
a little downgrade.
That's first world problems, and everybody likes to rip on the media for talking about their perks. But let's see, Faye, we always hear the improvement between week 1 and week 2. Yep, that's why I'm saying let's not jump off the ledge and say this team's going 4-6 because of how awful they look tonight.
Hey, you know what's really good to fix all these issues? Vanderbilt and Missouri in back-to-back weeks.
Yeah, and Alabama's giving Missouri a bloodletting right now. Let's see. Agree with Justin. Answers were high school coach speak. Okay, now I missed what Justin said. Okay, here it is. Justin said, was very disappointed in Coach O's post-game press conferences. Answers were weak, and people have to be held accountable. I bet you $1 million Orgeron he'll come out of the shoot Monday totally different, especially after he digests this one, after they break down the film.
Tell the truth Monday. It's not going to be a pretty truth.
I think, look, man, I'm one of these guys who's eaten more crow on Ed Orgeron than anybody, and I've loved eating it. And I think he'll be very good on Monday. So we'll see how it does. He might have just been shell-shocked. But we'll see.
We got a lot of people saying 6-4, 5-5 at best. You know, here's the deal. How good do you think Mississippi State is this year? What do you think they end up at?
Well, I mean, look, they can build off this. I mean, they part of winning for a program like that is getting a marquee win. They get it right out the chute. What does that do for their confidence level?
Oh, they explode.
Yeah.
You saw them after the game. They were calling him the best quarterback in the country.
Yeah. Yeah. So, look, we knew that there were, we were one of the two, Mike Leach and Lane Kiffin, which two coaches would have the biggest impact in year one. And I guess after week 1, it's Mike Leach has got it by a long shot. But
I'm going to tell you this.
Of course, we'll be saying at the end of the year, what did he beat in that LSU team, depending on what LSU's record is and how well they rebound or if they rebound at all. So, but they're absolutely ecstatic in Starkville. Look, I did an interview with Matt Wyatt, and I talked about him in our chat Thursday night. He's one of the best in the SEC at what he does for his, being the color guy from Mississippi State. Has a great talk show in Mississippi. And I'm telling you, I tuned in his show several days this week, and they were darn confident. And I don't know if it was a bunch of Kool-Aid drinkers, but a lot of them feel like, I told you so. I might have to tune in on Monday to see what they're like, but it's kudos to Mississippi State. They got a big win and a lot of assignment in Starkville, but unfortunately it's the expense of number 6 LSU.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up Mississippi State's schedule right now because to me, that team looked like an 8-2 team at worst. I mean, they got their things together. KJ Costello, he's a seasoned veteran. We don't know him in SEC country because he played 3 years at Stanford, but that's a veteran out there, And Mike Leach is a coaching veteran who knows what he does. He's really never had the chance to take go to an SEC caliber team. He's been at Texas Tech and Washington State. Well, he finally gets his opportunity. I think they're going to be a good team. Ultimately, LSU gave up 663 yards. And it was still a 10-point loss.
Look, Chance Babin has had some great takes in the chat tonight. Thanks for participating with us, Chance. Says Costello and Ruiz, transfer quarterback and kicker, reminds me of Burrow and Tracy in 2018. Man, I tell you what, Costello, LSU had him several times where I'm like, and look, he had some turnovers. And that was one thing Matt White told me that he was prone to do. But that kid didn't, he'd turn it over and come right back on the next series. LSU had him multiple times where I just thought, boy, they've got him. And then he sidearms one for, on a 3rd and 9. He did that all game long. Let's see. Let me get some more of your questions in. Severe Damon. Or is it Severe? It's spelled Severe, but I'm going to say Severe. Damon or Damon. 5-5 team. Miles is not close and can't read defense. No one close to Jefferson to go over the middle to make this offense work. Defense can recover, but gonna have to tackle better.
I think Reed Gilbert can go over the middle.
Yeah, there was another one I wanted to see.
I think the receiving core has some talent, y'all. I will say Keyshawn Butte
did
not shine the way we thought.
That's where I was going. That's what I was going. I was going to see what Keyshawn Butte 1 for 6, one reception for 6 yards. Kirkland, Jeray Jenkins had a fantastic game. Look, Terrace Marshall had 8 receptions for 122 yards. If this was if he was your NFL fantasy league receiver, you'd be ecstatic with those numbers.
Oh yeah.
Had a longer 37. Terrace 2 touchdowns. Well. He had a crazy day.
Yeah, Terrace Marshall. He played just fine. Now he did have a couple drops, but that's all. He's always kind of been like that.
Yeah, I think overall though the disappointment is the running game. I thought going into this one it was going to be a heavy dose of Chris Curry power running. There was a few runs of him where they were trying to get him outside. He's not an outside guy. He's an inside runner. He's a power runner. They did some of that early in the third quarter. And I'm like, okay, here we go. They decided, we're just going to, power this thing a bit and make some things happen. And then, again, they got behind and we know what happened.
Yeah. But I will say what was impressive is 9 people did catch the ball tonight. Problem is, most of them 1 catch 3 yards, 1 catch 5 yard, 1 catch 6 yard. It really was a lot of stuff that didn't go far downfield.
Well, let's see. We got any more? I think we about covered it all tonight.
I think we've covered just about every angle. I think overall the consensus is here. Pump the brakes on fire, everybody. Slow down.
Yeah, no. Look, this was just. You can throw any at. You want to say disgusting, gross, an abomination. You can use all the synonyms for what we saw tonight in the worst way. But like I said, I think this is one of those seasons where it was going to be an experimental season almost, where you're like, let's see what they do. How do they piece this together? Get through 20, get to 21, just so many unknowns. I don't know how many times people said, "Man, how good's Miles Brennan?" Man, I don't know. I've said I don't know a million times. He's been in the program for 3 years.
I talked about in my midweek show. I said ultimately my strongest take about this team is we know less about this team than we've known about any LSU team in decades. Really, we haven't seen a spring practice. The only practice film we've seen is what LSU spoon feeds the media because of COVID. And not to mention that on top of that, they're returning 2 or 3 starters from the national championship. On CBS, they had a broadcast. They went down and there were 17 players with eligibility remaining who played in that championship game who are now no longer with LSU, either opting out or in the NFL. That's tough.
What do you think? And look, and I'm not blaming these guys. They all have their reasons and this and that. And of course, Stingley with the medical, and again, our thoughts and prayers are with him that he's 100% and they got it nailed down as to what it was so it never happens again. But what do you think Tyler Shelvin, Jamar Chase, and Derek Stingley thought when they were watching that game today? Because those are all 3 guys that could have helped this team.
Big time.
Yeah.
You have to think that passing offense opens up with.
And look, don't come in the chat and say, "Oh, Tyler Shelvin's, out of shape and all this stuff."
That's a big.
I get it. The abuse that he's been given on social media has been way overboard in my mind. Again, I want to thank Kenneth Haynes, attorney at law, Shreveport. We've got him in the description. Check out his website. If you need an attorney in North Louisiana, he and his firm are the absolute best, and he's the official attorney of TigerBait.com. Will sponsor us all season. Go to TigerBait.com and subscribe. Loads of recruiting stuff. Of course, we're all going to be following what's going on with Corey Foreman in town this weekend. Of course, he can't have contact with the LSU staff. It's a recruiting dead period, and that's the way it's going to be till January, at least till December 31st. So we're going to see how the number 1 defensive lineman in the country, what comes out of this visit to Baton Rouge again this weekend. And we've got a lot of shows during the week, a lot for you on TigerBait.com. We've got Brian Lazar's analysis of this one on the site. Our message board is lit up, and got all the post-game interviews on the front page of Tiger Bait. Most of that is free, so you don't have to be a subscriber. Go click on that, and you can see those below on Facebook to easily click on as well. And so please, again, like, share, subscribe to Tiger Bait. Thanks to Kenneth Haynes, our big sponsor with the Haynes Law Firm, and we'll do it again next week. And I think we're going to be talking about a win.
I think so too. We'll be in trouble if we aren't.
Yeah. All right. Good
y'all
night.
Hit that bell. Subscribe to this page.
Yeah. Good night, y'all. Thank y'all.